Hello everyone, Jess with Emotional Fire Academy. Today we are going to talk about how to overcome emotional sensitivity and feel good permanently as a highly sensitive person. So by the end of this video, you are going to have all the tools you need to overcome sensitivity, emotional sensitivity for good. So before we jump into things, I just want to say if you're really interested in this topic, if you are ready to extract yourself from feeling victimized by your emotions as a highly sensitive person, check out my webinar. I have a free 1-hour webinar on my website, emotionalfireacademy.com. You can play it instantly, just plug in your email address, and you will get an even deeper look into this process and even more tips on how to overcome all on your own. Totally free. So check that out and let's get into the nitty-gritty of this. So essentially, in order to overcome any type of emotional sensitivity, there are 3 things that go into it. And I have a handy diagram for us to follow along. So emotional reactions essentially occur because of 3 things coming together. Your physiology, so your body plays a part in it, your past conditioning, and your language. The language that you use to talk to yourself, the language that you're hearing being said to you. So when those 3 things kind of come together, it causes this ignition of emotion, and you react. You have this reaction. So if you want to overcome having these reactions, you have to start managing the 3 sides of the triangle. I know this seems really overwhelming, but this is just kind of how it works. And this is taken straight from neuro-linguistic programming, which is the science of achievement. It's the science of how people become better and how to become more than you are and how to thrive and succeed as a human being. And when they started studying NLP back in the day, I'm not sure when, I should know when they started it, but they realized what a huge element language is in success, right? And that's the trickle down of all of this was kind of, affirmations and all of these things, positive thinking, that kind of was all coming out of the research that they were doing and the experiments they were running and all that fun stuff from NLP. So this might look familiar if you've studied NLP before, but I call this the emotional triangle because this is the key. When I found this piece of information, my entire life changed. So I'm a testimonial to this actually working. When I started managing these 3 things, I started seeing immediate results and actually creating a new norm for myself. And that's what you're doing. So let's briefly just go into the sides of the triangle. So physiology, your body plays a role in your emotions, obviously. If you're tired, if you're hungry, it's going to take less language and less conditioning to ignite that fire in the middle, to ignite the emotion. And so paying attention to your body, having really good routines and rituals that you do are super helpful for managing your emotions. And that's where I started, was with my physiology, because I'm like, I just feel overwhelmed every day with emotion. And so what can I do? I'm just going to start taking a walk every morning. And I started introducing green drinks, which I found really helped me, helped my body. Some other things, making sure I get enough sleep, cutting back on the foods that kind of cause me a lot of inflammation and irritability, which for me was carbohydrates and sugar. Cutting out sugar, that was a big thing too. Because 45 minutes after I would eat sugar, I would have an emotional reaction. I started to notice a pattern. And so when you commit to managing these sides and to making small changes, you start to see patterns of like, whoa, that was super contributing to my emotional reactions. So if you actually want to overcome this, starting with one of the sides of the triangle is a great thing to do. Conditioning, so this is how we were raised, the culture we were raised in, the parents we were raised by, the values they instilled in us, how we interpreted life, that all contributes to our conditioning, right? That's where our wounds are. That's where our triggers are. And when you start to recognize that stuff, and take ownership of it and be like, yeah, I have an abandonment wound. My dad left, or my best friend died, or whatever wounds you have. When you start to identify them, then like, oh, you can start to again see patterns in yourself and be like, oh, what you said really triggered me because I have this huge wound and I'm working on it and I'm healing it. And so taking ownership of the conditioning element is huge too. Language, that's the one everybody seems to forget, right? Because as a highly sensitive person, I'm going to put this down for a second. As a highly sensitive person, I tried a lot of stuff to overcome my emotional reactivity, to the point where I kind of gave up and was like, this is just me. I'm going to be like this the rest of my life. And that thought just, I couldn't stomach that thought. I couldn't sit with it. I couldn't accept it. And a lot of the things I had tried had only addressed one side of the triangle. And that's why it never stuck. I never was able to transcend myself, because I would only do positive affirmations. And it didn't work. It didn't stick. I'd see these short little changes, but then I'd go right back to normal. Or, I'd dig around in my emotional wounds and try to heal them. And again, that didn't stick, because you have to address all three sides. You have to. I really believe that. And so going back to language, how we can manage language is, how are we talking to ourselves in our head? What do we, and when we listen to people, when we interact with people, how do we frame things? That's huge. Framing them negatively consistently, it starts to affect this stuff, right? It starts to become consistently framing things in a catastrophic way. We begin to condition ourselves, right? It becomes a habit. And then our body reflects that. Our cortisol levels rise, and we go into this cyclical pattern where we're always in emotional reactivity. So language also has a huge, how we talk to ourselves and how we interpret the meaning, right? This is meaning. Language is about meaning. The meaning of what other people say to us as well, which is in our control. We can always ask them, what do you mean by that? Unpack that for me. Invite them into more of a conversation instead of just taking their words at face value. It's really amazing we can even communicate at all, because words mean different things to different people. And so interpreting it in your way through your filter might not be what that person meant or they intended. So those three things, and when we start to address them, we build resilience, right? What we're doing is building emotional resilience, because as we manage the three sides of the triangle, we have fewer emotional reactions, fewer fires. And then we're establishing a new norm for ourselves, right? Our kind of set point emotionally, it raises. When we've managed the three sides of the triangle, we amp ourselves up to the next level of our new norm is feeling pretty content and good, and then we can ratchet ourselves up again to the next plateau of, I feel awesome all the time. And sometimes I have a moment where I do, I experience a negative emotion, but it's very fleeting. It passes. And again, I wouldn't have believed this stuff myself if I hadn't gone through it. So this stuff really changes lives as a highly sensitive person. This will change your life, managing these three. Because you also start to realize where also you might have been picking up on things that weren't yours. Right now, in the midst of coronavirus, you might be getting emotions that are just coming in. Like yesterday, I felt angry the whole day. And there was this underlying anger. And I was like, this isn't mine. This is not mine. And having that awareness of like, I know where my set point is now. I can feel that. That's like, I've calibrated to that level. You don't need, then you can identify oh, this isn't mine. This is coming from somewhere else. A lot of people might say you're an empath if you can do this. I believe that empathic moments are actually just highly sensitive moments where you have psychically picked up on other people's emotions and brought them in and internalized them. And so when you're in a good spot emotionally, you're not going to take that emotion of anger. Like, I could have had a really bad day and been like, this is my anger and this is why I'm angry. I'm going to attribute it to something that somebody said to me, or you misattribute the emotion if you're not aware that it's not yours. I hope that makes sense. Does that make sense? Does all this make sense to you? Drop a comment below the video. Let me know if this is resonating with you, if you've had experiences like this. I would love to hear your opinion. And as you feel the difference, as you recognize and you've overcome your emotional sensitivity, you can start to feel the difference in the triangle when you do have a negative emotion come up, right? So you have this new set point, you're feeling good, and so then when you get a negative emotion, you realize, okay, and you do a quick check with yourself, and it's kind of a feeling sense, and you can feel the difference between this is a wound, right? This is my conditioning. Oh, this is a wound from that I need to heal. Oh, great, I can go back and heal it after this is over. Or this is my body. My body, oh, I haven't eaten, or I didn't sleep really well last night. I think I'm just tired. You start to recognize those subtle differences of like, oh, this is my body. Or I'm framing this wrong. Or I can frame this better. So the language element of like, oh, I'm thinking small again. I can think bigger than this. I can know that possibilities are unlimited with this. So when you've overcome, you can discern better which side of the triangle is out of balance and quickly bring it back into balance. So thereby increasing your emotional resilience. And as you do that, right, you permanently move from victimhood, feeling victimized by your emotion, not being sure why it's happening. You can look at the outside world and say, well, he did this to me and that's why I'm mad. But the actual reason why you're angry, it often goes much deeper than that, right? It's a wound, it's your body, it's how you're framing things. And so as you discern more and more of these nuances, you get better at immediately identifying them going forward. And you shift out of that victimhood of not really knowing why you have emotions, and you become this emotional badass, right? You're this emotional firefighter. This is what we teach in Emotional Fire Academy, is stepping into the hero energy, owning your stuff, and transcending it in this really powerful, bold way. And this is the entire basis for my own personal transformation. I know this because I went through it. I started doing it myself. I was in a crummy place as an HSP where I felt victimized all the time by what I was feeling. And so when I fully embraced this and fully committed to it and drank my own Kool-Aid, I was able to transform myself in a matter of months. And I mean very, very quickly. Probably within 2 or 3 months, I extricated myself from a narcissistic relationship. I healed a lot of my conditioned wounds and came to peace with who I was, and kind of was able to embrace this people will say that it's the inner child. I call it the inner victim, who like to throw tantrums and react. And I kind of came into alignment with this person and brought in this hero energy that would balance, right? The hero and the victim, they kind of go together, right? One's the savior, one's the one that needs saved. And when you kind of integrate those two, you can bring that back into balance and you won't feel victimized anymore. And I was able to find a healthy relationship and get back control of my heart and my mind. So if you're in that place and you're ready to do all these things, again, hop on a free consultation with me at emotionalfireacademy.com. Let me know what you think. Did you like or dislike this? Are you ready to take the leap? Do you know someone that is? Send them over my way. Give them this video and show them that they can overcome their emotional sensitivity, and so can you as a highly sensitive person. Have a great day.